So why isn't Facebook working? What doesn't work? Let's actually begin to break down what you've been told to do and why things don't work out. Fun fact, the reason that are constantly figuring out the latest change in Facebook have to do so because they didn't figure out how to make it work in the first place. If you're spending more than an hour a week on Facebook and you're not scaling confidently and you're not confident in what you're doing and you're not able to spend the rest of your time with your family or on the rest of your business, you're working in your business instead of on it, this is perfect for you. I'm excited, clearly, let's go. All right, so today's video is gonna be great. What we're gonna talk about is what doesn't work. And clearly this is, we're gonna hack Facebook. That's stupid. So maybe this sounds like you. I'm gonna try that brand new hack that I saw somewhere on the internet, hoping to replicate some screenshot someone posted without any context that might not even be legit. And then I'm gonna see a couple exciting days and then I'm gonna struggle as it starts to get worse and worse. And then another week, another month, another year goes by and you're still wasting money and not growing. You've hired yet another agency that has promised the same thing and it's not working out. The promises of somebody delivering you short-term wins isn't panning out to be long-term success. Because, oh, by the way, most of the people that teach you how to do this stuff, or most of the agencies that are doing this stuff, let's back up a second. What is the motivation of an ad agency? What's their business? Their business is to not get fired in the first 90 days. You ever notice there's an onboarding team and then a persistent team after that? That team after that isn't there to keep you in business. That team, their job is to learn how to eventually be good enough to be an onboarding team. Because as soon as they get you to sign that contract for the next 90 days, they're off to making sure that the next person doesn't leave in the next 90 days. What that means is they have to show a lot of action for a lot of promise really quick. And if you ask any agency owner that's honest, they'll say their motivation is not to grow the brand. The motivation is to not get fired. And there's a very big difference if you're an outside contractor trying to not get fired versus an internal employee or owner trying to make more money. So today what we're gonna break down is the things that don't work beyond not getting fired in 90 days. Let's focus on everything that they've told you to do that doesn't work. And also maybe a couple things to do to fix it. All right, now, usually this is the part in the time of the video where I'll show you to like and subscribe to stuff, but instead, I mean, hey, sure, go ahead and do that, but check this out. Right there's a QR code for the Facebook Ads MBA program. If you want to know my standard operating procedures, what I've trained ad agencies and brands and marketers to do to develop 7, 8, 9-figure businesses, massively reduce the time spent in the platform, massively increase the bottom line volume of profit. Again, we're talking about profit volume, actual money we take home, not ROAS, not like cost cap, margin contribution and MER and all that other nonsense. No. Real money in the bank account while also giving you more time. That's it. There's literally, if you were to hire me to take over your ad account, this is what I would do. First 12 weeks in order so that you don't need me. Check it out. All right, let's take a little break and get back to it. All right, so let's get real. Hacks don't work because they aren't built to drive long-term success. So today we're gonna break down 9 Facebook hacks and completely just eliminate any doubt you had. And should I or should I not run these? You're gonna know 100%. This ain't for you. That's what this is all about, driving more confident, right? So let's break these all down. I'm super excited. Now, these are super popular ideas, but if they worked, you wouldn't be here right now. So let's address some of the most common worst practices. By the way, here's the list of things we're gonna go with today. Yeah, some of that's gonna hurt right in the feelings. Let's break it down. All right, number 1, traffic campaigns. Now this one probably should go without saying, but traffic campaigns are never a good idea. Now, traffic campaigns come from the idea that, well, I know that 3% of people that land on my page buy, so if I can get a click for $3, then I know I'm gonna make a sale for roughly $100, and if I can get a click for less than that, then I'm gonna make money. So let me just get as many clicks as I can. The problem is, this isn't created equal. Not all clicks are the same thing. And this thinking comes from platforms that are not meritocracy intent-based platforms. They don't come from OCPM platforms. Instead, they come from CPC platforms. So native and search and other things where you are playing a volume game based around set inventory. Now, in that case, the unit economics are completely different. So in native advertising, where you're just buying like CNN.com or TMZ or ESPN or whatever, you're just buying banner ads. You know that audience, and you roughly know what a click from that audience is worth, and you're just trying to spam it to grow the front end of the business. In search, you know what a click is worth because somebody already knows who you are. They already have some level of intent. Facebook is a different thing. Facebook is about creating intent, amplifying the business, letting people who are already problem and market aware knowing that you exist. Remember, you don't have to handle the whole funnel inside of Facebook ads. You just have to amplify the way your business makes money. And you might say, well, yeah, as long as I get a click, I'm gonna convert. That's because right now your baseline on clicks isn't from the type of traffic that Facebook brings. And the more bad traffic you bring, the worse those numbers are going to be. When you run traffic campaigns, you are not optimizing for people that are interested in buying. And you're also going to destroy the conversion rate of your webpage and be like, sure, well, but it's still gonna work out because the cost per click, as long as I know my click is worth, your click is gonna be worth a lot less. And more importantly, all the optimizations you're making to your landing page get thrown out the window because now you're polluting it with a huge volume of terrible traffic. So if you're running traffic campaigns, understanding that what you're doing is investing heavily and making sure that everything that happens after the click works a lot less, and you're doing so in a way that doesn't bring you net new buyers, that's terrible for business. So if you're running e-commerce or lead gen or SaaS, if you're trying to make money with your Facebook ads, because remember, not everybody's trying to do that. Running a traffic campaign is one of the worst things you could do. All right, retargeting campaigns. Now, retargeting campaigns are super popular, and everybody say, well, the ROAS is so much better. And to be fair, there are use cases for retargeting campaigns. If you're using catalog ads, great. If you're using rebuttal upsells, great. But if you're running retargeting campaigns with retargeting audiences to sell people to the same thing or even discounting it, you're destroying your business. There are 3 reasons for this. First, you're paying money to reach people who are already aware of you. So your incremental lift of your money on the rest of the business tanks. Remember, Facebook is there to amplify your business model. If you're spending money to reach people that have already told you no, because to be fair, most people in retargeting guides have already made the decision to not buy from you. Instead of bringing in new people into the funnel for search and for email and for everything else to work, instead, you're trying to make the amplification device more effective. You're trying to make your least efficient marketing channel better at the expense of all of the other more efficient channels. That doesn't make sense. Number 2, the results aren't incremental. Now, I know I just said incremental up to other channels, but also, the further down in the funnel somebody is, the more likely that sale is also going to be attributed to other channels. So that ROAS looks phenomenal because that person also opened an email and maybe searched this week. Now, maybe you get additional revenue, but it's not all 100% net new. So for instance, if somebody sees your ad, goes to your landing page, signs up for an email, searches for you, sees a retargeting ad, and then opens another email and then buys, well, Google and email and Facebook are all gonna get credit for that sale. And that sale might be a 3x ROAS on Facebook, but it's actually only a 1 because that revenue isn't additional to the other platforms. Unless you're gonna say, well, any revenue I get from any platform that's not Facebook isn't real. Then okay, we're sitting in a spot where it works. But going back to point number 1, you're doing that on a smaller and smaller group of people. So you're making less profit margin on a smaller number of people in a way that starves the growth of your business. Again, a very bad idea. And point number 3, maybe you're running discounts. If you think the idea of saying to people who have already shown you they're not interested, or folks that are already interested and likely to buy on another channel, If the way to make them effective is to get less money from them by offering them a discount, you're paying more money because you added spend on the retargeting audience to get less money because you're offering them a discount. In what world is paying more money to make less profit in a way that again shrinks the incremental lift of the business, point one, and makes your reporting false and steals the incrementality of additional sales, point number two, just to make less money on that person to begin with, point number three. There's no world where that makes any sense. That's terrible for business. All right, point number three, making changes every day. If you're touching your Facebook ad account more than 2-3 times a week max, odds are you're doing far more harm than good. It's a machine learning algorithm. Now, one of the things I hear people say all the time is, well, yeah, but this ad set's doing better than this ad set, so I'm gonna increase the budget there, I'm gonna turn up this ad. Everything is working in conjunction with each other. It's a portfolio. Everything is touching all of the customers all of the time. It's a balancing act. It's a recipe. If you're happy with a chocolate cake, you don't go in and say, well, why do I need eggs? Just throw in more chocolate. The cake is gonna taste like shit by the time you're done. Your ad account is going to tank and your business will fail. It's a recipe, it's a balance, it's a team. You need all the players on the team for the job to get done well. More importantly, what you're looking at is some out of context, vanity metric, more than likely, that's historic and lacks context. And what you're looking at to make these decisions generally is low volume, historic, vanity metrics that lack context. So ultimately, you're saying, well, in the past, if I only look at one thing and I ignore its impact on everything else, this did better than that. So if I just get rid of the thing that did poorly, everything should go well. How many times do you say, well, Facebook doesn't spend money on my best ad, and so you turn off all your bad ads and then your best ad tanks? Because it's a retargeting ad, which you would know by doing a 4PI analysis, and then all you've done is basically say, well, all I'm gonna do is ramp up my bottom of funnel and just kill the top of funnel. That's a way to scale my business. No, it doesn't work like that. That's just not the way it works. And the more changes you make, the more times you shake the Etch-a-Sketch to try to figure out what the picture is. That makes no sense. Every time you make a change, you're taking 3 steps back. Every change you make makes the machine a little dumber. Now, it can learn in between the time between every one of those steps. Maybe take 10 steps forward and 1 step back, that's okay. But if you're taking 1 or 2 or 3 steps back multiple times a day, you're never gonna move forward. And anybody that tells you the path is constant optimization and day trading doesn't know about Facebook. Number 4, promoting too many offers. Why are we promoting 5 offers? And you'll get the cost cap bro saying, well, because I get more money here and I get more money here, I'm getting profit on all the places. Why? Great. Let me ask you this. Which one of these makes you the highest profit margin on each sale? Which one gives you the most volume of profit at the end of it? Which one gives you a higher second purchase rate? Which one has the best LTV? When you start running SPR analysis and taking a look at your PSM, which one of these actually gets you more future cash flow? Which one of these is best for your business versus which one gets you profit? Would you rather have 5 things that get you between a penny and a nickel, or 1 thing that gets you a nickel every time? My point is this. If you have something that makes you a penny, one that makes you 2 pennies, and one that makes you a nickel, every time you run money on it. Every time you invest in making a penny, you lose 4 cents. How many things are you making profit on that are actually getting in the way of you making way more money? And how many of the things where you make more money never drive a second purchase? E-commerce is lead gen. That first sale is not acquiring a customer. That's a lie. Somebody is only valuable when they make that second or third or fourth purchase. And if you can profit on getting a lead, basically you make that first sale at a profit on Facebook, great. But it's all still lead gen. It's all still the same thing. And if you're living and dying by your ability to make money on day 1, having no regard for what happens later, if you're trying to run your business like an ad agency trying to not get fired, you're never gonna grow. And for everybody that says, well, I'm doing this across like 10 products or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, great. You're running your Facebook like it's Amazon. And just like Amazon, the ability for you to probably get to be an 8-figure business is effectively 0. So you should probably start running a business instead of trying to be a salesperson trying not to get fired. Pro tip. Brings us to his next point, using a bunch of audiences. Why are we even using audiences? And you might say, well, this lookalike audience is a lot better than broad, or this interest group is a lot better. And my point to you is, does it? Does it really? Or is the unit economics that you see inside of Facebook more desirable when you run them all together? Here's my point. If I'm running a Shopify lookalike audience of 3%, my CPMs might be 20, 30% higher than at broad. Now you might say, yeah, but the CPA is 10% lower, so that's good. Great. Is it better for me to have a 10% lower CPA on Facebook or 30% more volume to my email and search? Is it better for me to make my least efficient channels slightly more profitable or to give my far more profitable channels a lot more volume? Would you rather your best salespeople have the most opportunity to be successful, or for your worst salespeople to be a little bit better at the expense of your most successful people, even working at half their capacity? You have to stop looking at audiences by the Facebook level metrics. You have to start looking at what it's doing for your entire funnel. When you run broad, it'll be the most stable. Those ads will not fatigue. And more importantly, it creates the greatest incremental lift to all other marketing channels. And if you want to make money, you cannot look at just Facebook as the way you're operating your business. And if you're running audiences, you're creating ad fatigue and raising your CPMs year over year, because you're also forcing bad experiences onto people. And one of the easiest way of looking at this is, what's your frequency, what's your CPM? If you're running a 2% lookalike, I almost guarantee you your CPM and your frequency is higher than if you were running broad, which means you're paying more money to reach fewer people more often. And if you got rid of it, your search volume and email revenue would go up overnight. Which do you want? Higher margin on a much smaller amount, or much greater margin on a much greater amount, but upfront, what's a little bit worse? Again, ad agency trying not to get fired versus running a business. Stop using audiences. It's not 2016. The audience game is over. All right, this one might hit home for some folks, but ignoring the learning phase. Why are we ignoring the learning phase? And I'll tell you this, it's because most people take a look at it as like, well, the results, it's with the learning phase isn't stable, all this other stuff. I've heard 1,000 reasons. And if you've got one, drop it in the comment section below, because I'd love to hear it. But basically, here's my point. The learning phase is Facebook's way of telling you that it has confidence in delivering a consistent result and how it's going to use those ads. When we do a 4PI analysis and something leaves the learning phase, basically those numbers are more or less stable. If you know what happens when you put $1 in, then you know how to ultimately get more than $1 out. And if you can get more than $1 out, you can spend some of that profit into putting more than $1 in, and eventually you scale. That is how business works. Ignoring the learning phase is dumb. I've heard a lot of people talk about like, well, it's because the ads aren't stable, it's because it doesn't really matter, it doesn't really performance, all this X, Y, and Z. Well, I'm using audiences, I'm running offers, I'm running along ads all the time. All of that is nonsense. Facebook's learning phase lets you know that Facebook has confidence in delivering a consistent result and how it's using your ads. And why this matters is if you run a 4PI analysis, basically those metrics are more or less static once it leaves the learning phase. If you know what happens when you put $1 in, and the output is you get more than $1 out, then you can take a little bit of that profit from the out and put it back into the front, so you start to spend more than $1 when you put it into the machine. And if you can make more than $1 on profit for every dollar you put in, and you can take a little bit of that profit and put it in, you're just having this flywheel of growth. That's how you scale a business. If you ignore the learning phase, you're basically saying, I want to operate a business where I have no idea what happens when I put $1 in. You're playing slot machines. You're playing the lottery. It's getting lucky. It is not a path for sustainable growth. Again, this comes from ad agencies needing to move fast enough to not get fired. But if you're running a business, what you care about more than anything is stability in the operations of your machine, where you know you're making a profit and can confidently invest a little bit more tomorrow than you did today. And if you can say yes to that every single day of the year, you're going to make a lot more money. That is what this is all about. Okay, testing dozens of ads at once. This one might hit home for folks. I still see people say that you should test ads test a new batch of ads every week. Let me ask you this. Is the scientific method aware of the Gregorian calendar? Do you think that data, science, numbers on an Excel spreadsheet are aware of how rich Italians decided to track the movement of the sun? No, it doesn't make any sense at all. And if you're saying, well, I'm gonna test a dozen ads, I'm gonna test 20, 30, 40, 50 ads, which you probably have to do if you're running Advantage Plus or cost caps and audiences where your ads are constantly fatiguing, because that's the only way you can keep ahead of the depreciation, just by trying to get luckier and luckier and luckier. And all you're doing is adding cost and instability on the front until the whole shit house goes up in flames. When you're testing a bunch of ads, here's what you can't do. This ad got more spend. This is what happened to my business's bottom line. If you can't answer that question, then you have no idea what you're doing. And if your standard operating procedure is to have no idea what happens when one ad gets spent to your business's bottom line, then you have no idea if that ad is any good. And if you're testing dozens of ads, it's impossible to know what happens when any one ad gets spent. If you don't know what's going on, if you can't measure the results of your investment, then it's impossible to have confidence in growing your overall investment. At some point, the luck will run out and your business will fail. It is a given. So if you're running a bunch of ads, if you're running a bunch of tests, you're wasting a lot of money. Plus, odds are the vast majority of the ads are losers. So let's say 90% of the ads are losers. You test 10 ads a week, one's a winner. Cool. You lost 90 cents on the dollar just to prove that one thing works when you're defining works as got lucky. Do you think that losing 90 cents on the dollar to see where you can get lucky is a way to sustainably grow your business? No, that makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. All right, we have two more of these coming in. Just one quick reminder. There's the MBA program, and in there we'll get down to how I do creative testing so that we can have 1 or 2 creative tests that last for weeks. If you've got 20, 30 assets, you might not need new ads for a month or 2. Easy. And we actually break down why doing more creative testing is bad. Remember, more ads equals more instability, which means more bad. There's a link to understand everything that I do and the way that I do it if you're willing to invest in yourself in a way that investment will pay for itself tenfold. Or you can keep playing the lottery and hope to get lucky. All right, back to it. We got 2 more to go. Let's do it. This one hurts me. Duplicating ad sets to scale spend. Why are we doing this? Now the thinking is, well, I got something that's working today, so let me duplicate it like 5 times, just crush, because I'm gonna get different pockets of the audience and all this stuff. Maybe you do get good results. Maybe things look good for like a few days, and then of course, well, the ads fatigue, and then the audience is fatigued, so you gotta make more ads to keep it going, and then eventually those fatigue, so you gotta test more ads, and you gotta test more ads faster, and then you're ultimately spending more and more on creative deployment and testing and all this other stuff, and you're racking up thousands of dollars of cost just to sustain a machine that's ultimately depreciating faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. That's stupid. If you want to scale spend, make something that works, that you've measured, that's stable and profitable, and invest some of that profit into the growth. The easiest way to scale spend, do 1% a day. As long as my CPA is below a certain number, I can spend 1% more tomorrow. Maybe it's 5% 3 times a week. I'll do 1% a day until I kind of start getting more no's than yeses. Then I'll make it 5% 3 times a week, and I'll work on my creative testing or my search or my business model to improve my PSM, profitable scaling margin, to get me to a place where I can say yes. Then it's easy. And I do 1% a day. One of the reasons I love that is because my change is constant, and I'll be able to track what happens in my search volume and my email revenue. And I'll be able to point to when do I hit a law of diminishing returns, or I actually need to adjust anything. If you turn off 80% of your ads right now and you just get a stable result, and then you improve everything that happens after the click so you're profitable, and then just start ramping up your budget, odds are you wouldn't have to launch a new creative test for like a month. I've done this over and over and over again, especially when taking over ad accounts from agencies. It's stunning how easy it is to win when you're taking over business from a lot of Twitter and YouTube talking heads that have no idea what they're doing. It's so easy to actually win. All right, this is the last one, and this is a bit controversial. Relying on fancy software to track results. Now, I love triple whale dashboards, not because I'm getting real attribution. Attribution as a concept is a complete fallacy. It's as real as Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy. It is 100% impossible to understand why a sale happened, and if you can figure out how it happened for one person, every single other sale will be completely different, because the average customer journey is decades long and has thousands of touch points. The reason you bought those sneakers isn't because you saw an ad, it's because decades ago somebody put something on your feet and 1,000 things happened, and you'll have to get to the point where that ad at that point in time is the thing that made you do something, and has very little to do with that ad. The point here is simple. If you're using tools like Northbeam or Hyros, they're built around trying to solve attribution. The basis of their technology is built around trying to answer a question that itself is based on the premise of a sales pitch from ad agencies that is a lie. The reason I like things like Triple Whale is because I can see the shape of the curve in an omni-channel fashion with confidence. Rockerbox does this fairly well, but you can also do this in Google Sheets. Inside the Facebook Ads MBA program, not trying to sell, just point it out, we go over, and there's the link if you want to scan it, we have things called Scrum Doc and Ecosystem ROAS. And really what we're doing there is we're tracking level of spend and percentage of spend and percentage of attributed revenue and overall results across all channels. And if you make a graph of what happens every week across all of those channels, you're gonna be able to say something very simple. Oh, I scaled my Facebook budget by 20, 30%, and now my results just aren't good enough anymore. Well, did you touch Google? What happens if you start to ramp up your Google spend? What happens to the shape of the curve on your revenue? What happens to the shape of the curve on your blended CPA or your CAC? If your unit economics get better so that you can spend more money on Facebook, mazel tov. What happens when you spend more money on Facebook to your email revenue? If you're not tracking that, then again, you have no idea what's going on in your business, which is another reason why, again, ROAS doesn't mean anything. You have to start looking at your business as a business, not a bunch of people whose job is to not get fired, all trying to take credit for the overall operations of everybody on the team. Or when you fail, it will be your fault. All right, so that's it today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any other questions, go ahead, drop them down below. As always, you'll find an article to describe all the things we talked about. You also get links for CharleyBot.ai, which is free, and newsletter, disruptor school, MBA program, all this stuff. So until next time, I'll see you on the internet.